Ever wonder why a mechanic's car can run past 300,000 miles, while the average driver struggles to reach 150,000? The truth is, it's not just luck. At around the 100,000-mile mark, mechanics quietly do things that never show up on a repair invoice. And here's the kicker. Over 70% of major breakdowns happen after this mileage. That's why today, I'm going to reveal the secrets mechanics never tell you about what they check, fix, and replace once a car hits 100,000 miles. Stick with me until the very end, because I'll also share a bonus trick mechanics use to keep their cars lasting way longer than everyone else's. Let's get started. Secret number 7, replace the cabin air filter. I know what you're thinking. At 100,000 miles, why are we even talking about an air filter? But let me ask you this. Ever notice how some cars start to smell like an old gym bag as soon as you turn on the AC? That's because of the cabin air filter, your car's version of lungs. Most drivers forget it even exists until the car stinks or the airflow gets weak. The owner's manual usually recommends changing it every 10,000 to 15,000 miles. But personally, I tell people to replace it with every oil change about every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, because it's dirt cheap and it protects way more than just your nose. This little filter keeps dirt and debris out of the blower motor, the evaporator, and even the entire AC system. I've seen filters so clogged with dust, leaves, and even mouse nests that the blower motor burned out trying to push air through. Imagine paying hundreds for repairs when a simple $10 filter could have prevented it. Here's a quick check. Pull the filter out and shine a flashlight through it. If you can't see light coming through, that filter is already killing your airflow. Don't be cheap, just replace it. Because the next secret, if you ignore it, the bill gets a lot heavier than a $10 filter. Secret number 6, test the battery and charging system. Batteries don't usually just die out of nowhere. Instead, they slowly get weaker and weaker. The car still starts until one day it doesn't. Most drivers don't notice the signs until they're stranded in a parking lot with a dead battery. At 100,000 miles, that battery under your hood is either on its last leg or has already been replaced once. This is when mechanics step in and check it the right way, not just by guessing, but by load testing it. Here's what that means. Every battery has a rating printed on the label, usually called cold cranking amps, CCA. For example, it might say 600 CCA. If I test it and it's only pushing out 400, that battery is on borrowed time and it's replacement time. Some batteries are serviceable, which means you can pop the caps and check for low fluid levels, electrolyte. Most people don't even know batteries can dry out. And then there's the corrosion problem. If you see that nasty green crust around the terminals, that's eating away at your battery's ability to charge. Here's what mechanics do. Clean the corrosion using baking soda and water. Apply dielectric grease to the terminals so it doesn't come back. Then, make sure the charging system is working right. And this is where most people go wrong. I've seen drivers replace 2 or 3 batteries and still have the same problem. Because it wasn't the battery at all. The alternator was the real culprit. Here's the rule. With the engine running, your alternator should be putting out 13.5 to 14.5 volts. Anything less, and it's slowly killing your battery. Mechanics always check this at 100,000 miles, because skipping it is like rolling the dice. Do it, and you'll never be stuck waiting for a jump. Ignore it, and your wallet will suffer. And if you think replacing a dead battery is expensive, wait until you see the next secret, because it involves spark plugs, ignition coils, and repair bills that climb fast if you skip them. Secret number 5, spark plugs and ignition coils. You'd be shocked how many cars roll into the shop at 100,000 miles shaking like a washing machine. 9 times out of 10, it's the spark plugs. Here's the truth. Spark plugs don't last forever. They wear out, the gap widens, and the ignition coils have to work harder to fire. The harder they work, the faster they burn out, and coils cost way more than plugs. Now, the manual for most modern cars says the iridium or platinum plugs can last up to 20,000 miles, but mechanics don't wait that long. On our own cars, we swap them right at 100,000. Why risk pushing them further when one misfire can snowball into expensive repairs? For older cars running copper plugs, forget about 100K. They're usually toast by 30,000 miles or sooner. Ignore them, and instead of firing fuel in the engine, you're dumping raw gas into the exhaust. That kills your fuel economy and can damage your catalytic converter. Here's the part shops don't tell you. Replacing spark plugs is usually easy DIY work, but many mechanics don't mention it because it's easy money for them. Labor plus markup on a set of plugs. So here's the bottom line. At 100k miles, replace the plugs. No excuses. Inspect the coils while you're in there. If one's cracked, swollen, or covered in oil, replace it. Do this on time, and your engine keeps firing clean and smooth. Skip it, and you'll be driving into the shop with a flashing check engine light and a fat repair bill. And speaking of flashing lights, let's talk about something that can make your whole car shake like crazy if you skip it. That's next on the list. Secret number 4, engine and transmission mounts. Ever been at a stoplight and felt your car vibrating so hard it seems like you're sitting on a massage chair? That's usually bad engine or transmission mounts. At 100,000 miles, most mounts are cooked. Heat, oil leaks, and constant torque beat them up over the years. But here's the thing, mechanics don't usually bring this up unless you complain. Why? Because replacing mounts is a labor-heavy job, and customers hate the price. But on our own cars, we check them religiously. Why? Because mounts do more than just keep the engine in place. When they wear out, every gear shift feels rougher. Vibrations transfer through the whole car. Exhaust parts can even crack when the motor rocks too much. How do we check them? With a simple pry bar. If the engine lifts up like soft bread dough, the mount's done. On hydraulic mounts, we look for leaking fluid. On transmission mounts, we look for sagging or collapse that makes every bump or acceleration feel clunky. Here's the risk. Ignore bad mounts, and your car will literally rattle itself apart over time. Replace them, and suddenly your car feels tight, smooth, and safe again. So if your ride is buzzing, clunking, or shaking like it's twice its age, don't blame the car, check the mounts. And speaking of things that shake, let's move on to a little part that most drivers don't even know exists. But when it clogs, it can choke your engine from the inside out. Secret number 3, PCV valve and emissions components. Here's a part most drivers don't even know exists. The PCV valve. And trust me, it's one of the most ignored little pieces under the hood. Even some mechanics let it slide until it's already stuck or broken. Why? Because it's cheap, and they'd rather wait until it causes bigger problems. But at 100,000 miles, ignoring this part is asking for trouble. Here's why. The PCV valve, positive crankcase ventilation, controls pressure inside your engine. If it clogs, pressure builds up and starts pushing oil into places it doesn't belong. Your intake, gaskets, even spark plugs. Suddenly you're burning oil, failing emissions tests, and chasing repairs that cost hundreds. And all that damage caused by a $10 part. How do we check it, remove it, and shake it? If it rattles freely, it's working. If it's stuck, gummed up with sludge, or doesn't move, it's overdue for replacement. Don't forget the hoses. If they're soft, cracked, or collapsed, they'll kill the whole system. Most manuals say inspect it every 20,000 miles and replace it between 30,000 and 50,000 miles. If you've skipped it until now, the 100K checkpoint is non-negotiable. Stay ahead of it and your motor breathes easy. Ignore it and you'll be dealing with clogged intakes, oil leaks, and costly engine repairs. But while this little valve is about letting your engine breathe, the next secret is about keeping your engine alive when the heat turns deadly. Secret number 2. Cooling system overhaul. Engines don't just wear out over time. Most of them die from heat. I've seen perfectly good motors cook themselves because the owner thought coolant lasts forever. Here's the truth. By 100,000 miles, if you haven't serviced your cooling system, you're running on borrowed time. And I don't just mean topping off the reservoir once in a while. I'm talking about a full cooling system overhaul. Why? Because old coolant loses its anti-corrosion properties. When that happens, it actually starts eating away at aluminum parts inside your engine. Radiators rot from the inside. Heater cores clog. Water pumps fail way earlier than they should. Every manufacturer from Toyota to GM says coolant has a service life. It's not forever. Here's how mechanics do it the right way. Park the car on level ground and let the engine go completely cold. Only then, remove the radiator cap. Look for stains, leaks, or crusty buildup. Test the cap itself with a pressure tester. If it doesn't hold pressure, replace it. Open the drain or pull the lower hose and catch the old coolant. Flush the system with distilled water. Run the engine with the heater on, then cool it down and drain again. Repeat until the water runs clear. Replace the thermostat and gasket. Squeeze every hose. If it's soft, cracked, or bulging, it's time for a new one. Refill with the manufacturer's spec coolant, usually a 50-50 mix with distilled water. Bleed the system of air, check fans, and pressure test for leaks. Finally, road test the car and recheck levels the next day. Yes, it's a process, but it's worth it. Skip this and your engine could overheat, warp the head, or even crack the block. That's thousands in repairs. Do it right, and your cooling system will protect your engine for years to come. And the next secret? It's hiding underneath your car. If you ignore it, your ride will feel like it's falling apart piece by piece. Secret number 1, suspension bushings and control arms. If your car feels loose, clunky, or drifts every time you hit a bump, chances are your suspension bushings are shot. By the time most cars reach 100,000 miles, rubber bushings are dried out, cracked, or completely blown. But here's the catch. Many drivers ignore them because the car still drives. What they don't realize is that worn bushings are silently destroying the suspension. Here's what bushings do. They keep your control arms tight. They stop metal-on-metal wear. They hold your alignment steady so your tires wear evenly. When they fail, you get uneven tire wear, sloppy steering, a ride that feels 30 years older than it is. That's why mechanics on their own cars check every bushing at 100. Control arm bushings, look for cracks or missing chunks. Sway bar links, listen for clunks. Trailing arm bushings, inspect for leaks if they're fluid-filled. If the arm itself is bent or rusty, we don't mess around. We replace the whole unit. Fixing bushings makes a car ride tight, smooth, and solid again. Ignore them, and your suspension slowly rattles itself to death. If this video saved you time, money, or a trip to the mechanic, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more insider car tips. Drop a comment with a secret you're going to check on your own car first. I'd love to hear it. And don't forget to share this video with a friend who always complains about car repair costs. Until next time, drive safe and take care of your ride.